maybe it's a topic for another podcast, but are people actually selling their carbon?
Well, there's the people out there in the voluntary market. I just haven't been. I've nudged into it and looked at it.
Yeah.
And just there's so many other things that we got to get done. Maybe if somebody wants to come and buy it off us. But, when we do the soil test, we actually map the farms. We can actually calculate how much it is. And this is what we've done with this calculator.
Well, how would that work? You prove that you've attained a certain amount of carbon. Then someone buys it off you in the form of purchasing carbon credits on some registry. But then what if you lose that carbon later? How does that work?
Well, that's the big thing that everyone's been worried about. Oh, if I put it in there, what if I lose it? Do I have to pay the money back? And if the carbon's gone up in price, am I going to lose money? And so there's a little bit of, I know. And which just seems quite bizarre because, you can grow a pine forest. And they just calculate on how much carbon they think is going out there. They don't even do any soil tests underneath the soil. And we know that under pine forest, the carbon crashes unbelievably so because there's no cyanobacteria or anything to function there because all the pine resin and everything else kills it all. It's a bloody bonkers system, but they just hand out the money. But this is an interesting scenario of what happens is that you can actually build fertility, build carbon. If anything, it's a great way to put a defensive system up against the councils and everyone else. It's like, excuse me, I've gone up. You owe me.
Right.
So, and additionally with the maize, we're now harvesting that material. So we've done, this is conceptual, right? A diagram of the sorts of things that we're sort of thinking about here. So we've got time along the x-axis there and soil carbon stock along the top, along the y-axis there. And if you look at that, the very top line there with the dashed lines, that's if you go through a pasture renewal every 7 years, 10 years, and you have enough time for it to be able to recover back to its carbon stock, and then it drops off and then goes back up again. But if you now drop that to going every 7 years renewal, then you start to get losses over the long time as it grades down, and then the dotted line there is what might happen under maize. Now, the difficulty in doing something conceptually like this is that we really need much better data on the recovery rates of that carbon stock and soil, and we don't have much in the way of measurement in New Zealand. I'm sure there are models that can address this sort of thing, but we really need hardcore data to be certain. So,
yeah, and you've been doing that. You've been doing that, haven't you? And you've got hardcore data in some respects.
Oh, absolutely. This is the part that there are certain protocols. There's, Western Australia's got a protocol. There's various around the world. Even a lot of people might have seen the Carbon Cowboy stuff on YouTube and that. There's a guy called Rick Teague, one of the professors at Texas A&M. His data protocol's very, very similar to ours. Is like they say randomized, and so when you're doing it, you don't let a computer be the random, because when you walk out in a paddock, you've got to take into account troughs and all the other sort of bits and pieces. But once you've got the set the first time and you just go back and do it again, the accuracy of being within this amount of space, getting that data. And yes, and we are accumulating that data according to their farms and how they're going. And it's phenomenal, the changes that are happening and what comes out from the testing and how the other numbers start playing up. And as I say, really good to have a look at the soil test video that goes with this.
Yeah.
It's critical. And so from our perspective, what they've done here is looking at the carbon, but we've been looking at all of these facets because we're farmers. And I like being lazy. And when they talk about pastoral renewal and all this sort of stuff, well, they're talking 7 and 10 years. I think 120 is about, or 100 might be about where we're at now from when we've never regrassed anything. Well, I tell a lie. We contoured the runway and put it back in grass.
Right.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about it got taken over by all the grasses that were all around it. So all the red clovers have come in and all the natural plantains and everything else. It's like we are not short of species, but the species will only arise when you actually suit the soil fertility to match them not the other way around.
Hang on, I got to ask, does that get in the way of runway activity?
Terribly. Yeah, it grows.
So what do you do then when you've got an airplane landing on your own ground, which you've contoured with a specific grass, and then all the old ones came back?
Yeah, they grow too fast. There's not enough days.
So what do you do? Do you mow them?
Well, I haven't as yet, but I think I might have to.
Yeah.
The cows are on it far too much now because they've got too much grass on it.
Right.
Yeah. So no, it's an interesting process. When we went through 5 years ago, when we were all in lockdown, and we had a whole lot of pine trees went out, and so when we cleaned up the piles and burnt everything and regrassed it and everything, I got some of these fancy species and all these different things that they're talking about that they regenerative and want to do this, and they grow X amount of tons of dry matter, and I'm going, well, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go. So we put these flash breezes in, and the first year, I must admit, they were pretty freaking impressive.
Really?
Yeah. The second year, they were just ho-hum, and the grasses, our grasses just took over again, and they're gone.
What on earth? What on earth leads them to sort of be flash in the first year or so, and then they just don't hold?
They're built to a soil suitability sort of thing, and there's no competition when you put them on. First off, they just germinate because the ground's open, bare, put the seed in, it grows, looks fantastic, but they don't last. And all our own species just move straight back in, and you just wouldn't even know where you'd been there.
Good model if you're selling it.
Yeah.
Because it just...
it looks fantastic, but it doesn't last. So what we've seen...
Well, you got to keep buying it.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
No.
I said I was lazy as well as didn't like spending money.
Lazy and Scottish.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, so when they're talking about these pasture like all of these things that they're talking about are bringing the carbon levels back up, I'm going, nah, we can get them up. And what happens is when you get them up to, in our lighter soils, when you get them up around 8-9%, all of a sudden the soil starts getting deeper.
Right.
It just goes south. And so the amount of topsoil is a reflective to how much grass you grow. So the more topsoil you've got, the more grass you grow.